AI art. Should these two words go together? If you've been paying attention to the recent developments in technology and media as we know it, you're sure to have come across this stuff, or at the very least, people talking about it. And now it's my turn. I'm feeling moderately self-important today, so why not? This might be something of a departure from what I normally talk about on this channel. I'm not talking about sonic frontiers here, I'm talking about a new frontier. The technological frontier of innovation. And dollar bills. For those of you in the unawares, AI art is a somewhat new phenomenon. There's a bunch of these funny little websites where you can type in a prompt, pretty much anything, and an algorithm will generate an image for you based on your request. Wow, hey, it's like what every geezer thinks I mean when I say I draw on my computer. That's pretty neat. Except it's not pretty neat. It's actually ugly messy. And not just the fingers. These AI sites have unearthed a whole myriad of ethical, philosophical, and existential quandaries. And I don't mean it metaphorically, or rhetorically, or poetically, or theoretically, or any other fancy way. This is some deep-ass doo-doo. Straight up. And it's kind of been all I can think about lately, especially as an artist. Now, on top of just being used for art, there's also been a butt ton of other AI models popping up, including ones that can replicate the voices of basically anyone with enough samples of them. Case in point, Joseph Biden with the gamer
Shit,
is.
you got me.
Kablamo!
Son of a bitch.
Call me Michael Jordan from now on.
Or Tucker Carlson somehow managing to be even more depraved than usual.
Did you know that in terms of male, human, and female Pokemon?
Just like with AI audio, AI art can create images by sampling tons of other works. It basically gets fed a buffet of various pieces of art alongside their matching text descriptions. And then it can vomit up a mash of whatever you're asking for, provided it knows what images the phrase you input may match up to. There's probably a bunch more that goes into it. I'm not that smart, but essentially it's like if you turned Dr. Frankenstein into a photocopier. He took the organs of art and made a monster.
Oh my goodness!
Squidward! And just like in the original story, Dr. Frankenstein digs up the bodies of work of countless people without their consent for something they never even had the chance to object to before it was too late. But in this instance, instead of just one graveyard, AI dug up the entire internet. And oh boy, do we have an angry mob forming. It looks like lots of companies want to get in on the action too. There was DeviantArt, which got bullied into backpedaling, but then there's Clip Studio, Adobe, heck, even Discord. They're all kind of toting AI around like it's this mind-blowingly amazing thing that we all need, Mark Zuckerberg metaverse style.
Legs.
Legs!
Oh man, he's getting into it too? From what I've seen, lots of artists are turned off by this stuff. Can you blame them? Voice actors too. There's something pretty unsettling about witnessing a robot replicate what you do, how you draw, what you sound like, whatever, especially without your permission. Like, imagine if your neighbor walked out of their house one day looking exactly like you, and then started kissing your mom. But okay, I'm not a Neanderthal. I don't see new technology and instantly whip out me club. I'm all for making creative processes smoother and more enjoyable, but I am of the mindset that AI media, like a lot of technology, is a double-edged sword, and one that may have been forged for the wrong reasons. No matter how you slice it, things are changing, and I think we have a responsibility to ourselves to figure out just what it is we want out of the world, rather than let the zucks of society tell us what that is. Because I think we all know what they want. One less bump on the road to big money, baby. Regardless of whether it's actually good for us. I started drawing pretty early on in my life. I was inspired by books like Captain Underpants, shows like SpongeBob and Chowder, and I spent a ton of my elementary school career writing stories and making comics of my own. They weren't high art or anything, but those years I spent nose deep in my notebooks were insanely formative. I shared my stories with my friends and family, and I was super proud of them. I've pulled them out from time to time since then, and they still make me smile. Obviously, I've changed a whole lot and grown as an artist from when I was a kid, but I can still look back on my old creations and see a reflection of who I was at the time. Sometimes I even think I've lost a bit of that purity of creation. I was having a blast back then simply for the joy of creating things, spending my time working alongside my friends to make funny little arts that made us laugh. Nowadays, I feel like we don't have it as simple. While art tutorials and information are more widespread than ever, so is everyone's art. It's so easy to find hundreds of thousands of people who are way more technically capable than you and compare yourself to pieces. I'm seeing freaking 14-year-olds draw better than I can, and I've got a whole decade on them. So it makes sense to me why certain people might see stuff like AI art and feel discouraged. How can anyone measure up to a machine that can instantly replicate styles that took professionals lifetimes to master perfectly? Well, almost perfectly. Learning art takes a lot of time, patience, and passion. But it's freaking fun! You could get hung up on the final product like, oh man, my little cartoon cat looks nothing like Salvador Dali's Raphaelesque head exploding. But that's silly, right? I'd argue that both these pieces have value. Heck, I'd even say I like the cat more. I don't think the value of art comes from its quality of rendering or even of what it's depicting. I think the thing that makes art fun is knowing that someone made it and that it's an extension of that person and kind of everything they've ever experienced. I can look back at my old art and feel like it sucks in a bunch of ways, while also feeling really proud of it because it's something of a reflection of who I was at the time and what past me was feeling and into. I think in this one, I was feeling remorse. The ultimate point that I'm getting at here is that your art has value. And I think the trend of AI generated art in its current state isn't one that's really fueled by a love of art or the process that goes into it. It's not really driven by a desire to make the process of self-expression through drawing, sculpting, modeling, or whatever more accessible because it already is accessible. Pencils are less than a quarter each and paper literally grows on trees. Henri Matisse spent the last 14 years of his life in a wheelchair and still made freaking giant, crazy-ass paintings. The only thing limiting you from making art in some form is your own mindset and dedication. You don't have to be Michelangelo, unless you're green and really like pizza. So I don't really get people who make the argument of accessibility to justify the unethical nature of this AI hullabaloo, where the companies behind them are using the work of artists to try and replace them. You don't want to make art, you want to have the results of a lifetime of artistic exploration and that thoughtful process immediately, without going through it. And I get it. While I believe that anyone can make art, I know that seriously pursuing it isn't for everyone. Sometimes I'm not even sure it's for me. But you know what people who want pretty art that don't want to spend their time learning and making it do? They respect the people who did learn and... Sure, we can delegate parts of making art to an AI. Things that are tedious or just too difficult. But at what point do we give too much of it away where it's no longer our own? And why do we want to? Sure, we could say, oh yeah, it's to save time, to get a product out faster and avoid big hurdles. But ask yourself, why do we want that? We live in a society where we're constantly pushed to make content. Games get released unfinished, artists get underpaid and overworked, and they get laid off. They pour their hearts into a project and then see the fruits of their labor snuffed out before they even had a chance. All in the name of exponential growth, the algorithm, capitalism, what have you. We live in a world where the guys running it value profits and products over people and processes, and they'll do anything to shrink the latter too. AI art feels like something made by these people to smooth over the frustration that is dealing with and respecting artists. Why underpay artists for slow work when you could just not pay artists at all and get fast, good enough work? So ask yourself, why do we want to give up the process of creation? Do we have that little faith in ourselves? Do we not value what we're able to do with the skills we have today? The process of growing as an artist? Hell, as a person? I just think these are questions that we need to address together because they have the potential to impact us a lot. I asked a bunch of my Twitter followers what they thought, and I found a lot of people feel similarly. AI art as a concept is really freaking cool. Like, technology is crazy, bro. I wouldn't be surprised if things are very different by the time I'm done animating this. I wish we could have it without all the negatives of, like, you know, jeopardizing people's livelihoods or making pursuing art feel pointless. There are ways AI could be used to help creative people in a way that isn't built off of their stolen work. Disney animator Aaron Blaise actually finds the tech really exciting, but he's adamantly against the way these engines have been built. My main issue is the way in which it's being pushed by companies and tech bros to milk money from it is just really dehumanizing, and it feels pretty bleak. Like, where is all this going? How is this going to affect us when it's already hard to be fairly paid for your work? I don't know. I don't know what to do about all this, or if there's anything I really can besides flap my lips in front of all you. Hope you enjoy that, because it's not cheap. I don't think the tech is going away. It's probably only going to get better. That's how these things go. But artists aren't going away either. And I think we deserve some freaking respect for what we do. Because art is hard, and art has value, no matter your style or skill level. I'm tired of feeling like I have to justify that for the kinds of people who think realistic Pinocchio looks objectively better. Art is a challenge, but it's one that people willingly put themselves through for the fun of it. And I think it'd be pretty cool if people could still make a living doing that. But yeah, that's about it for me on the subject, at least when it comes to the art side of AI. The deepfake and voice simulation stuff is on a whole different level of reality melting proportions. Like, could you imagine what people could be convinced of with AI when there's already people who think Elon Musk is a smart, self-made man? I don't want to think about that. I really don't. All right, bye.